Welcome back to another recap. So today's morning, right before the market opens, I made roughly 487 pure accounts. So there's 5 accounts, so let's roughly total out to $2,800 or something. And today I'm mainly going over on the top-down analysis, what I'm looking for, and what I leverage with the volume profile. So let's take a look. Jump into trading view here. So this is currently 4 hours. I'll kind of go over on Sunday, the day-to-day bias that I chart out for the previous day. So overall, you can take a look at daily. We did break structures towards the downside, so there is still bearish in the higher time frame, but that's just something to keep in mind. There is no more SMT with ES. Once this 2 liquidity was swept by NQ, before it was slow, but once it's swept, there is no more SMT with ES. There's no more divergence. So something to look out is, do we bounce from this level? Okay, so these gap, we bounce from here, from the daily level. And for 4 hours, mainly that's the one I look at, because daily level is good to give you an over higher time frame bias, but you're not going to trade. Your trend is not going to really matter with that high of a time frame unless you're swing trading for months or weeks, right? So jump into 4 hours. Something I'm looking at is there is a breaker over here. That's something I'm eyeing for a higher time frame. Mainly I just want to highlight the zone I'm interested in from the previous day. So this is what I'm highlighting before the market opens today's, and then jumping into and marking out the previously. So this is Tuesday. This is the weekly high, and you have the weekly low. And also here is Wednesday, so we go by daily. This is the daily previous day high. Okay. So you can quickly see this is the previous day high. So here, I don't have that. Let me change the color. That's fine. Okay, this is the previous day's high, and this is the previous day's low. That's just something to keep in mind when we're trading. So jumping into the lower time frame. So what I'm looking at is the 15 minutes. The 15 minutes we can kind of gauge, even though we're bearish in the higher time frame, right? And also aligning with the 4 hours, we are bearish as well. So you can see in the 4 hours, overall bigger trend we're bearish, but right now here, this is a bullish trend that's currently holding. Once this gap is broken, and it's holding nicely above it, so we don't want to short all the way down. We want to look for opportunities to short, don't rush into it, and then see if we get any chances. Okay, so let me ROA. So this is when I start looking for trade. Overall time frame to 15 minutes, we can see there's order block in the previous video. It's a separate video. If you're interested, you can leverage order block. Mainly what you leverage. I don't really trade fair value gap. Fair value gap, I really mainly target the volume profile, because that's where it should find true imbalances. So you can see these order block is getting respected. So overall time frame is getting respected. But you can see here, this is where once you tap into the higher time frame 4 hours, you can see the price start respecting, forming a bullish order block here. But overall, what I'm looking at here is I still expect the price before going higher to grab these liquidity down here, or at least these internal liquidity, not even external liquidity. That's typically when you have bullish structure like this. Typically, I will aim for the internal liquidity from the 15 minutes, which is the higher time frame. Well, like compared to the 1 minute I trade on, this is higher time frame. I'll aim for this liquidity over here instead of all the way at the bottom. So let me highlight this, instead of all the way down here. Right? You don't have to trade all the way down here, but this is most likely the target is going to go towards. So I don't really trade fair value gap, but mainly I leverage volume profiles. Something to take a look at is this is the volume high, this is volume low, so you can see this, right? And then where do you really truly find the imbalances where like the fair value gap truly exists is these gaps here. So you can see these gaps. These are called low volume nodes. If you have questions, you can check out my other video on volume profile. I have a couple video on them and how I trade them. So this you can see aligns with the 15 minutes. There is a fair value gap here, right? I mean, there are multiple fair value gap in between here. So these are a huge fair value gap, but how do you mark up precisely? This is where I use volume profile. You can see directly where you're trading, right? These are all imbalances area that you can expect the price to bounce towards. But if you look at 30-minute chart, wait a little bit. Loads. So if you take a look at this volume profile, you can see there are a huge imbalance down here. I'm expecting the price to attract towards. So I'm going marking this out. These are imbalances. And you kind of see the price already did. This is the market opens. I essentially traded this leg down. Jumping into the 1 minute. Jumping into 1 minute and going back. We're roughly. Okay. What I'm looking at is from 7 o'clock low, wait till this high. Once I see there is a market structure break, this is where I enter, right? So roughly around 8:30, this is where I was at. So right here, this is where I enter. Top at high. If we're truly bearish, we should not return to this high. This should be a protected high. Okay, and then my target was around. This is the true imbalance area that you can target towards, and you can see a line up here. But the really target, what I'm aiming for, is all the way down here. So I realistically have runner all the way here through here. So this was roughly a 3R trade or 2.7 R. After I average it out, trail out through here. So I'll let this play out. Once, so something to highlight here. Once it reached equilibrium, I already moved my stop to break even. Okay, I move my stop to break even from here. There's no reason for the price to go back up. The price want to go back up. Also something to highlight. There is SMT here. So with these lows, ES already took these. These SMT, we do not, when this form, we want to move it to break even because there are chances it will bounce. So you can see there are imbalances area as well. These low is holding quite well, which I'll change the color of it. Maybe not the color. So yellow a bit. So you can see these imbalances area is holding quite well. So in order for the price to truly go through the downside of here, so my first target was around 2 RR trade, so it's around here, right? These imbalances area, but there's a big imbalance of low volume lows here. These is holding quite well, so you can see within the 1 minute, this imbalance is holding very well. You want it to break, and you can see it's not breaking. But once it breaks, that's when we go. Okay, so you see once it breaks, tap back into here, it become what you call inversion fair value gap. But these essentially become your resistance zones, right? Once in here, I scale up some, and then I scale some here, and then my all the way goal is down here. So you can see the market is very efficient. Why I put my runner here, not all the way down to external low in the higher time frame. You can aim for this, right? You can aim for this low. I didn't aim for this low. I mainly just aim for the low volume nodes from higher time frame, the top portion of it. Sometimes it will form equal lows and not grab it. So, I mean, there's no point for me to risk just for these, right? And I have these as my target. And you can see once you grab that, it just shoots right up. So this is essentially how precise you can use volume profile to know where the price is going to go, right? So as I mentioned before, this is the 4 hours. Mark this out. So this is the 4 hours. And the difference. Yeah. 4 hours, and then here, this is the true imbalance, right? This is a true imbalance area, and also you can use this as a fair value gap. But one thing to point out is if you're having issue on where to draw a fair value gap, right? There's one here, right? And there's another one all the way down here. There are multiple, and if you go lower time, and there's more fair value gap in betweens. Yes, there are some trader. Once you trade enough, if you don't use volume profile, yes, that's also doable. Just using fair value gap. Fair value gap is accurate in a sense, but sometimes there are multiple fair value gap, and then you don't know which fair value gap to look for. That requires screen time and also understanding of how market data, market price move. You need to understand with experience. There's really nothing else, but volume profile kind of give you an edge, another additional confluence you can leverage if you trade. Fair value gap doesn't mean you can stop. You have to stop using fair value gap. You can use confluence as additional edge to basically give you a confirmations on, okay, this is exactly where the true imbalance is sitting, right? There is lack of liquidity. Imbalances means that price move away from this price in a certain direction very, very quick. The price is bound to come back and grab those unfilled imbalance and then go either directions, right? But in volume profiles, what we basically mentioned here, what's happening is there's a fill auction, right? You have price constantly pushing down, and then want to go lower, but the buyer stepped in, right? There's a fill auction here. That's why the price moved, right? So something to think about on your trading, and you can maybe leverage into your trade to give you a little bit more accuracy. But that is it for today's. Mainly the target is, leveraging these. I don't have value area high, but these value area high and value area low, right? So these are the high and low. We can see value area high is getting rejected, so it means it's going to rotate. What I'm looking at is continued rotation down to this liquidity, right? But liquidity, I'm not going to target all the way down here for the value area low. I'm going to target all these internal liquidity, because overall, why? Here is this water block, right? And we already have breaker structure. There is definitely going to be a reaction here, but I don't want to be greedy and then aim for all the way down here for all these targets, all these low resistance liquidity zone. There's no point targeting for it. If you did target, you have break even or you have already hit your stop loss. So it's a waste to aim for it. This 3RR overall average 2.7 is enough for me to just make 2.8K in one single day. Just one single tiny move here, right? I'm not trying to grab the whole move. I'm just trying to grab a piece of pie of this move. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully this is helpful. If you find this helpful, please appreciate it if you leave a comments and subscribe and a like to show some support. I will continue to drop more of these recap videos and these contents for any education that you want to see. Thank you. Stay safe and happy trading.